Welcome to the Panic Button, everyone. I'm Nina, and today I'm going to be reacting to a different kind of video, which is about SSRIs and their effects on people's sex lives. Now, I have a lot of experience with this, unfortunately, and I thought it would be good to talk about because this is something that a lot of people probably don't know about, which is very important since so many people are on SSRIs, antidepressants. So I'm going to go to the usual suspects on YouTube where they have a video that says Gen Z claims antidepressants have ruined their sex lives. We're going to react to that.
Talk to us. Gen Z, I'm here with a public service announcement for you. There was an article that came out in the New York Post. I don't know if it was today or earlier this week, but Nat, you could go ahead and show that one. Gen Zers say antidepressants have ruined their sex lives. I'm dead inside. So, everybody knows that if you have, mental health issues and you go see a psychiatrist, they're probably going to prescribe you medication. These are called SSRIs, which is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So this article in the New York Times is talking about how a lot of people in Gen Z are getting off of these antidepressants and then their sex drive is gone. They have no feeling in their genitals.
What the?
And this could be weeks, months, or years after.
Okay, so a little bit of disinformation here. I think disinformation or misinformation. Wrong information here. So the thing about SSRIs is that it reduces your sex drive. Not after you get off them. While you're on them, they decrease your sex drive. So I just wanted to clear that up because the way that she was describing it was not correct.
Stopping antidepressants. Did you know that, sorry, I've got a lot of facts here, guys.
I love facts. Bring it.
60% of Gen Zers are taking medication to manage their mental health.
Wait.
Does that include alcohol?
No.
Okay, good. I'm not on the list.
I'm getting there. I'm getting
THC,
there.
because people are now prescribed
I'm specifically
marijuana.
talking about Prozac, Zoloft, Lexapro, Paxil,
Wait.
Celexa.
And what's the age?
These are SSRIs. It is now in...
60%?
You gotta bear with me, guys. The National Institute of Health and medical bodies in the UK, Australia, and Europe now recognize PSSD as a legitimate disorder. PSSD is post-SSRI sexual dysfunction.
Jeez.
So,
Which is going to add even more depression. Like, what are you kidding me? So I'm depressed. I'm taking antidepressants. My penis doesn't work. I'm going to... What?
Well, this is the exact same argument for the trans debate. Like, all right, so you think you're going to have suicidal ideations if you don't get the trans surgery? Well, if you get the trans surgery, you might have even worse ones afterwards when you regret it.
Bro.
guys, there's 60% of an entire generation is on drugs right now. For things like ADHD, for things like OCD, for things like depression, and for things like anxiety. I'm sorry, Gen Z. Life is hard. Life is not, you're not supposed to take a medication that it's not fixing your feelings. It's just hiding your feelings.
Numbing it.
You are running away from things that you need to deal with therapy, and a lot.
Okay, so I have two different opinions when it comes to what she just said here. The first is that she is correct. There are a lot of younger people who are on antidepressants because they have uncomfortable feelings and they don't know how to handle those feelings. They don't want to feel those feelings. Maybe they've been spoiled their whole lives and had helicopter parents protecting them from uncomfortable feelings. So when they go out into the real world and they have these uncomfortable feelings because people are people, it destroys them and it messes with their head so much so that they need to go see a doctor and get on medication. I don't think that's a great reason to be on antidepressants. But the other side of that coin is that there are people who desperately need antidepressants because they're so demolished in their head. They're so messed up in their head that in order to function, they need a medication to bring them out of this deep, dark pit of despair. But I would say that's a very small minority of people who are on antidepressants. The rest are just given out willy-nilly to anyone who's uncomfortable about something, whether it's a breakup or I don't know, having an issue with a friend or not liking their job, whatever it is, they are being overprescribed. But they are needed in those extreme cases. And when the guy brought up the trans surgery thing, it did make sense, but in a different way, because medications are given out to people who just feel uncomfortable, antidepressants. And medications are also given out to kids and young people who are uncomfortable with their bodies. I don't think that's the first thing you should go to when you're just feeling uncomfortable, whether it's with your body or if you're having some issues up here. There should be a process. There was at one point a process when it came to having severe depression. Now, for example, I've had bad depression since I was 10, and I have been on a slew of medications. At one time, I was on 7 altogether. That's a lot. But at the time, I was very, very, very not in a good place. I had been institutionalized a couple times. I was very suicidal. I was not good. If I wasn't, and there was a lot of really bad stuff going on around me too. So the only way that I was able to function and no longer be here, I had to get on medications and see therapists. But I wasn't just on medications. I was also seeing a therapist who knew I was on those medications, who was helping me so I wouldn't need those medications anymore. There was a specific goal I had with my therapist. And I've had a few good therapists, and there are a lot of shit therapists out there, and I have seen probably most of them. But when I found the good therapists and I was on a lot of medications, we were able to reduce those amounts of medication because I was getting the help I needed, in which case she was giving me tools that would help me so I wouldn't need to fall back on those medications. I would fall back on those tools instead. That's kind of how the process used to be. You would go to a psychiatrist, you would, tell them what was going on. Most of the time they would give me a medication, but I would also have to see a therapist while taking those medications. But the psychiatrists aren't there to, talk to you and help you. They're just there to give you some medications to get you through. Nowadays, the therapists are pretty much there to listen to you bitch and to not help you. Because most of the time, the people who are on those medications going to therapy aren't taking those medications and going to therapy because they desperately need it. It's because they're uncomfortable with something minor and making it out to be bigger than it is because they've never been given the tools to get through those small uncomfortable things that happen in life. A lot of people can deal with bad things, uncomfortable things, take medication for a very small period of time and then get off of it because they were able to get over it. But most people nowadays, they don't want to feel anything uncomfortable ever. And so they rely on medications, and then those medications have side effects. And then they go online and bitch about all these other things that are going on in their life, which are a result of the side effects, when really, if they would have just sought out a good therapist or read books or just finding the tools that they need in order to it's almost like they're too lazy to do the actual work that's needed, so you don't need medication. They would rather be lazy and take the medication so they don't have to do the work. It seems like what I'm seeing with a lot of Gen Zers, especially, sorry to say, but especially on the left, is they're very lazy. They want the quick and easy way. They don't want to do the work. And then when things don't go as planned, because they were lazy and didn't do the work, they just bitch about it and make themselves look and feel worse. And that causes a downhill spiral, because then people see them and they're like, wow, you're just being a little bitch. Like, what do you, ew, you're just a spoiled brat who never experienced anything hard, and now you experience one little bump on the road and everything crumbles down, and I get that. I get seeing young people who are on medications who don't need them. I get how they're seeing them like that. So yeah, I just went off on a tangent, but let's keep going.
A lot of this increased, it's in the article, but a lot of depression and an uptake in increase in people being prescribed antidepressants. Sorry, guys, I'm working on my...
Your vernacular?
Yeah.
It's all good. That
I
was
always
a great
get
word.
nervous in front of the camera. I'm better behind the camera.
No, it's all good.
Doing great.
So there was an uptick after COVID because a lot of people were isolated. Go talk to your...
Also, that was very lovely of the guys around her to be very supportive. You don't see that a lot nowadays. You really don't. So, yeah, good for these guys. I like them. They seem like gentlemen.
Your friends, go talk to your family, go talk to a therapist.
Okay, here's the problem. There are a portion of people who do have good families and friends and choose not to because they want to be the victim. They choose not to go to these people and talk to them because they want to be the victim. I would say that's most of the young people who are on medications. But there are some people who don't have good families, don't really have any friends, or maybe like one friend, and can't find a good therapist. That takes work to find a good therapist, and it's very frustrating, and it makes you want to give up. Just it. It's impossible. Finding a good therapist is harder than finding a good person to be in a relationship with sometimes. It's not easy. I've been to my fair share of shit, absolute garbage therapists. Absolute f***ing assholes. They're out there, but there are very good therapists out there who have a goal of getting you out of therapy by giving you the tools necessary so you don't need them anymore, and getting you off of the medication because they're giving you the tools so you don't need that anymore. That's very hard. So just wanted to give you a different perspective.
There are actions that you can take to fix issues that you're dealing with. OCD. If you go to a psychiatrist, all they're going to do in a 15 minutes is prescribe you a medication that could ruin your life. There are so many stories in this article on the New York Post, which I highly recommend you read, about people who are like, this is worse than what I was dealing with before. Again, antidepressants.
The medical establishment in America, I don't know about other countries, but in America, when it comes to mental health, are totally f***ed. They do not want to help people. Majority of them don't. That's why it's so hard to find good doctors and good therapists who have your best interest at heart and not their own interest to make money.
Are there to hide your feelings. They're not fixing them. You have to do things.
I wouldn't say they hide your feelings. If you actually need antidepressants, what they do, just from experience, not from a scientific perspective, because I'm not a fucking chemist or some shit like that. What they do is when you are in the bouts of despair, they lighten that load. So if you're in the bouts of despair, it's like you have 15 people on your shoulders. And you can even feel that pain physically. And it makes you want to give up on life. So what the medications do is they take that load and they give you a little bit more of a relief so you can get up and do the things you need to do, whether it's go to school, whether it's go to work, whether it's just being able to move from your bed. It's not there to mask emotions. It's there to lighten the load off of people who desperately need it.
That actually fix the issues that you're going through. Life's hard. And how, because now these people don't even have depression. They don't even have joy. They don't even have love. They don't even have all these amazing things that comes with that. And part of the reason why why you can have such highs is because you know how to experience lows and you work out how to deal with that.
Kelly.
My personal experience is I didn't have high highs. I only had in the middle and low lows. I never had high joys. That's more like bipolar, which is just extreme emotions. Woo! Up, down, up, down. For me, I just had severe major depressive disorder. So what the antidepressants did for me is they made my low lows not as low, but they never brought me high highs. It took me getting off of majority of my medications and years of working through it and years of being in therapy and trial and error and practice and exposure therapy to be able to get to a point where I was comfortable enough not only to be alone and enjoy my own company, but to be alone and enjoy my own company and experience highs. Now, I don't think I've ever experienced high highs before. I've only experienced highs, but really only recently has it been more consistent with the highs. When I was younger, even into my early 30s, I maybe experienced high highs a handful of times. That's why a lot of people would say I was hard to read. Like adults would say, you're really hard to read. I don't know if you enjoy this or if you hate this. And I would just be like, how do you explain to someone, I have severe depression and I don't know what that feels like to be happy to experience highs. I only know what it's like to feel and I want to die. So as far as my experience goes, to experience high highs, you need to be able to experience low lows or have felt low lows before. But that's not always true with everybody. And I think because of how more of these young people are raised and they're so protected from uncomfortable feelings, their parents protect them, the high schools and the middle schools and the elementary schools protect them, the colleges protect them, then they get out of college and realize, wow, not everyone is going to protect me. I have to figure out how to do this on my own. Oh shit, I've never felt uncomfortable before. This is like dying. I need to get on medication. That's pretty much what I think she sees what is going on here in America when it comes to Gen Zers being on antidepressants and taking medications.
The reason why their schmeckles are not working, is it nerve damage or is it psychological?
So I think it's two things. It's both. So
before she gets on to explain, it's not both. There is no physical nerve damage in the genitalia region when you're on SSRIs. It's in your head. It reduces any desire to have any sort of intimacy. It kind of shuts that part off of your brain and kind of makes you numb. Not like physically numb. I don't want to get into too specifics because, demonetization. Kind of physically numb, but how do you say this? I would say it's hard to get there, if you know what I mean. But I wouldn't say it's physically numbing. I would say it's more mental. And that's a product of the medications, a side effect. You're taking away one thing to help with another. You're taking away the sex drive in order to help with those low lows. And for people who really need those medications, that's a fair trade.
Part of your body adapts to having the antidepressant, the drug, and it's hiding those inhibitors. So once you stop taking them, your body is then it doesn't have that thing controlling your hormones, your emotions. So then your body's just like, I don't know what to do. So your body has to relearn. I don't know how long it's going to last for some of you. Again, you're a very young generation. But here's the thing. You know how you get hangry, right? And then you eat food and you feel better. Right?
Yeah.
You know how you take caffeine and you get like that little buzz and you're like, okay, I got energy, I'm ready to go. Or protein in before the gym. And you know how you take alcohol and you get a little depressed. Those things affect you so much where it can change your life. Imagine what a drug for years and years is doing to you. And then the second you get off of it, your sex life is gone. And and not just your sex life, your feelings are gone.
And I don't blame her for it. When you're on SSRIs, the side effects are, like I said earlier, it reduces your sex drive while you're on them. Then when you get off of them, you still have those side effects. They're still in your body. It's still like in your head. And it's not going to take weeks. It might take months in order for you to get your sex drive back. I just got off of Prozac maybe 3 months ago, and I'm still not back to where I used to be. It might take a year. I'm not entirely sure because everyone's body is different. If you decide to get off of an antidepressant, there is going to be a period of time before your body acclimates to not being on those medications, and that could take a while. And that could make someone depressed enough to go back on those medications, which is where willpower and directing your focus and having a good therapist all kind of come into play, and using those tools that the therapist gives you, as well as trying to be more physically and mentally healthy, comes into play. And all those things are really, really, really hard to do if you're a depressed person and you need those medications. But if you don't, then in all honesty, if you're getting off those medications and you're not doing the work to get yourself back to a healthy, more homeostatic place, then a lot of people will say, well, now you're just being lazy. You're being weak. And I think that's where a good portion of Gen Zers fall.
Life is gone. And and not just your sex life, your feelings are gone. You can't feel any joy and you can't feel any depression and you just exist. And that feeling of hopelessness and being lost is worse than what you were dealing with. And I want so badly for all of you to have the experience and the journey of talking to a friend about what you're going through, having that partnership, or with a lover, with a family member, with a friend, so that you can build something memorable that changes your life for the better, and you can still experience all of those things versus something that's killing you.
And as an athlete and as someone now who has the privilege of getting to work with athletes, I would tell everybody what I tell them, and that's you get one body. Like, treat it right.
Amen.
Treat it with respect.
Amen.
A lot of times you can't come back from a lot of the crazy things you do. You may be able to try to turn your life around mentally. You get to a certain point, but the damage is done at some point, you know? I know in like the red pill community, it's like frowned upon. Like, it's a big thing. Like,
I wouldn't actually tell that to anyone who is going through this because it sounds like, well, if you get on those medications, well, then what's the point? Your body's done. What's the point? And that's very all or nothing. And that's the last thing you want to do to someone who is actually experiencing depression because it will make things worse for them. You want to give them more of a way out instead of saying, well, if you do this, well, then what's the point? Your body's done. Why go on? That's kind of how it's coming across with this guy.
Frowned upon. Like, it's a big thing. Like, guys, the best
pills.
thing to do is get out there, hit the gym, work hard. You get that serotonin rush, you know, something like that is good.
Ah, okay. This is helpful for someone who is not experiencing depression or anxiety and all that stuff. But to say this to someone who has anxiety and depression, what I'm thinking is, okay, how am I going to get to the gym? I barely make enough money. Gyms are expensive. Planet Fitness is cheap. But most people who have depression and anxiety, they don't want to be around people. So they have to think of another way. Saying go to the gym, that's like this. That's like saying, oh, go to school. That's like saying, oh, find friends. It's not that easy. When you have anxiety and depression, the last thing you can do confidently is to go out there and get a gym membership and go to the gym and find friends. That's easy for someone like this guy, but for someone who has these issues, it's not that easy. So you don't want to start with do this, which would be the hardest thing for someone to do who's going through this stuff. You want to give them baby step advice. Start with something small, something that looks tangible that they can get to. Not this bro talk, which I'm sure works for his bros, but doesn't work with people who suffer from these issues. So go to the gym. No. Schedule a time that you're going to go for a walk for 15 to 30 minutes a day. Do that for a week. And then maybe up that to 20 minutes. If you can get to that point, then do that in the second week. Maybe the third week, you start just doing bicep curls along. You want to start small, something that's more tangible, that they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't want to give them this, you know what I'm saying. So,
like, if you're sedentary right now and you don't feel like you got anything going for you, get out there, do something active, see people, get sun. There are so many natural things you could be doing for yourself, and they really do help.
See what people? What people are we supposed to be seeing exactly? Strangers? Should we just go outside, walk up, start talking to strangers? It's kind of weird. See people where? At work? At school? Okay, we see these people, but you don't just make friends with people easily, especially people who are going through this kind of stuff. They're not extroverts. So going up to someone and talking to someone, it's not easy. It's very difficult. You can't just be like, whoo, throw that out there and you guys do with it what you will. That kind of advice that you're just throwing out there is not beneficial for people like myself, because I've heard this kind of shit my whole life. Go to the gym, work out, go make friends, go join a play, go play kickball with some team, blah, blah, blah. No, bro. Not everybody is a gym rat. Not everybody is a people person. Maybe do one small thing during the day that is outside that you enjoy, even if it's standing outside for 10 minutes and listening to music. That's more tangible. Just go outside and meet people. Sorry, dude, that sounds retarded.
But they don't promote that, Chris, because they want
of course
you.
not. There's money to be made.
Exactly.
There's lazy doctors,
Exactly.
and people don't like. What I've noticed a lot of times that the doctors that I know, they don't like to have you leave and say, "I have no idea." So
They want to keep you dependent on repeating repeating the services. Big pharma, spend more money. Stay sick so that we can give you more and pump
why
this into
fix in
you.
a day what I can treat for a life? You know what I
That's
mean? It's
damn
basically-
right. Well, good day.
Well, no, I was going to say it is the over prescription of people. It's a phenomenon. I mean, and I have kids, and you can see how they start early. Like if a kid's misbehaving, you might want to put on something. And among my neuroses is mental medications. I mean, I make an exception for a nice martini. But I went in I used to get migraines. The doctor said, here's a low dose antidepressant. I was like, I'm not doing it. I went to talk to someone about.
So whenever I was put on a new medication or recommended a new medication, do you know what the first thing I asked was? Can you guess? First thing I asked was, what are the side effects? because I wanted to know if the side effects were something that I could handle. I wanted to make sure the side effects weren't worse than what I was going through presently. And a lot of, because some of them could give you seizures. Some of them could make you more suicidal. Some of them could make you gain weight. Now, for me, that was the biggest thing. If it makes you fat, that is going to do more damage to my mental health than I already have going on right now. Because at that time, I was going through a lot in my head. And gaining weight would have made me worse. So I always ask for the side effects. But you know what's really funny is you don't really hear about people who, kind of off topic but kind of not, but people who want to transition. You don't ever hear them wanting to know about side effects or anything like that. And you don't ever hear doctors talking about it, which I find absolutely mind-boggling. Because it's the same thing with the antidepressants when they prescribe them. They don't tell you the side effects. They might give you a sheet, maybe. They might give you a sheet, but most of the time you have to ask because most of the time they're just this will help you and send you on your way. I've had a lot of doctors like that, psychiatrists. You don't see them for long. You don't know them. They don't know you. And yet they're going to give you medication just based on what you said one time. Now, if you're suicidal and you've been institutionalized like I had been, multiple times, that's when a doctor prescribing you medication immediately is necessary. But if you're just coming in and you're saying, I'm depressed, and then they're like, well, here, take Prozac, take fluoxetine. I don't think that's helpful at all.
I went to talk to someone about cognitive behavioral therapy for, potential obsessive compulsive disorder. You go see a psychiatrist. All they do is prescribe, and then you get hooked on the drugs. Yeah. You become their best client because you're the easy clients to deal with, and they just over-medicate you. And I've had friends who said when they were coming off those SSRIs that they would feel like numbness. You get like a funny bone feeling shooting through the body like lightning.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, it's kind of like exposure therapy, at least for me it was, where, for example, I had really bad agoraphobia for a long time. I still have it, but I've been working through it. And it's not as bad. It's very slow baby steps to get to where you are not uncomfortable with going out in public or being able to handle going out in public without having any sort of panic attacks or anything like that. With OCD, I'm not really sure because I don't really have OCD, but as far as CBT goes, it's very beneficial. As far as the feelings that people get after they get off of these medications, from personal experience, I can tell you that people get zaps. Randomly, they'll get zaps. They can become more suicidal. They can gain weight, lose weight, become irritable. I've been through the gamut of all these things. The gamut or the gambit? I don't know. But anyway, that's where I'm going to stop here for today. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. If you want me to do more videos like this, because I know this is different from our normal content, put it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and share this with a friend. And, well, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.
Oh, why'd you have to go and do that? Thought we had a good thing going. Now I'm going to fall a little off track since you broke the mold. Take something for the pain and regret for having invested so much time.